If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. You might not agree on a lot of things, politics, the way that you see the world, but if you're aligned on that vision for the company, on that mission, then it's going to be an awesome thing.
If we expect the user to open our app with a plan of exactly what they're going to do, then we're failing them because they don't have a plan. Their job is not to open our app and to try to like make a report or do whatever. But after talking to ChatGPT and sending it a picture, I was like, oh, I think that might be ringworm. If you put the wrong ointment, then you might make it worse. Put the right ointment, then you make it better.
All right, love it. That's going to be the opener for the episode. Just the hook to get everyone's
Put
attention.
on the right ointment.
All right, Luke, founder of CompanyCam. That is probably what you're most known as to me anyway, but want to give the audience a little bit of an introduction before we dive into AI in the contracting industry.
Yeah. So yes, founder of CompanyCam. Probably how most people in roofing know me. I grew up, so I'm from Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska right now. There's like snowed 6 inches earlier and it's 30-mile-an-hour wind and it's so fun. But I grew up, like my dad started our family roofing business basically the year I was born, 1984. So I'm also old or older than some.
I was born before you, so stop calling me old.
Joseph, it's over for you. You're dude, how is it on the other side? No, it's like, at this age, anyone older than you is about to die, and then anyone younger than you just has their whole life ahead of them. You can do anything with your life. No, but so I grew up. My dad was he had started this business called White Castle Roofing, and they kind of stumbled into it because the job market was bad, and they were hardworking guys. Him and his partner Steve, and so, I grew up, they were roofing houses and at some sort of semi-illegal age, I think, probably like 12, 13. I was helping clean up job sites, and then you graduate to like actually getting on the roof. And then you got to nail down the shingles, which was like you were promoted. And then, I did some sales and marketing, basically worked for him off and on up to the age of 30. Like I went to college, dropped out of college, went back to college. I traveled a little bit. My wife and I lived in Spain for a year. I kind of am like a, I don't know, itinerant kind of person. I like to move around. But come, 2014, I was running our gutters and siding division at the family roofing business. And we were trying to take pictures, saw this problem, and thought, hey, we should just like make an app for this. Do I know how to make an app? No. How hard could it be? We all tap buttons on these apps. And, it's harder than you think, but it is doable. And I say that I literally made an app with AI yesterday, like myself, which was crazy. It's really cool what you can do now. But I come from this background of roofing. I've always been into kind of like technology and what's new. I bumped into someone the other day and they said, man, when I met you 10 years ago, you would not shut up about Bitcoin and CompanyCam. And he's like, I should have listened to you. I was like, well, that's what I'm into.
Fantastic. Talking about it's creating an app with AI. That's mind blowing. That is crazy. So right now are you still involved in CompanyCam in the roofing company? What's going on right now today?
That would be, so not the roofing company. I got out of that. So my brother is the CEO. My youngest brother, I got two brothers. My youngest brother is the COO.
Okay.
I'm the oldest. And so then my dad, who ran it, forever, still picks up the mail and shows up and, kind of hangs out, but he's mostly retired. But CompanyCam, every day, that's what I do, is CEO of CompanyCam, and I'm planning on stopping. I really like it.
Yeah, hell of an idea. That's cool. Like some of the best companies are started by scratching your own itch, right? You saw a problem, like, we need a solution for this.
It's super true. And like, you don't always see the end. Like whenever you're starting something, people are like, well, what's it going to be? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I remember thinking, man, if we could like just make enough money doing this, that like I could just do this for a job. That's all I really had in mind. But when you are solving a problem that affects a lot of people, I think of it like a video game. Imagine a video game where there's a map and you're walking around and the map's all dark. You can't really see what's out there. But as you kind of walk around, you're exposing the terrain, and the further you go, kind of like the more you can see. And I feel like definitely this company has been like that, and a lot of things where you don't really know. And the president of CompanyCam, named Hank, extremely smart, wise fellow, he always says, we just need to do the highest, best next thing. That like, if you carry down this path of doing the highest, best next thing, that you don't exactly have to know where that's going to end up, but that's where you should be, is wherever that takes you. And so that's what we're trying to do over here.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, we often talk about that challenge is, hey, we're going to make the best decision we can based on the information that we have now. And tomorrow we might have new information, and then we'll make another decision, right?
Yep.
But
and it doesn't mean the one before was wrong. It just means that we are trying to do the best thing with the information we have. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what's your role? Like, what do you do every day? Like, what do you
Yesterday
do?
I built an app. So, it's funny. My kids asked me, what'd you do at work today? I was like, well, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to people. I do meetings. I talk to people. But I think of my role as like, cause we have almost 300 employees now, which is,
wow,
which is crazy. And the bigger you get, the more your role changes. And kind of the idea of like leadership, direction, and really helping to find and encourage like people that I don't know, that they're sort of capable of more. That a lot of times, basically, I realized at some point in the first few years of doing this business that, because I thought I was just building an app, like making a product,
right?
And then I was like, oh no, I'm building a company. And a company is just people. You might have a building or you may have trucks or whatever, but fundamentally the company is people. And that my biggest point of leverage is just finding great people and helping us all like orient in the same direction and try to accomplish something. And that's what's really exciting. Like everyone wants to grow, to make more money. Like, and I want that too, but I love the idea that like, hey, we're trying to build this together, figure it out. And so that's, now I think about it's like the people, like it's about the people. How do we find great people? How do we keep great people? And how do we work in such a way that we can like almost like figure out what's the least amount we need to agree on to work together effectively? Because especially in the world, last decade, it's like there's all sorts of ways. There's Trump, COVID, BLM, like these things happen that like I've seen families, I've seen companies, like it's easy for things to kind of come apart. And I think this is probably in the weeds, but like when you think of any company, you've got 10 people, you probably don't agree on everything.
Right.
You've got 300 people, you've got that, in spades or whatever, and trying to figure out how do we just really work together effectively? Because if we do that, there's no shortage of problems to solve or value that we can bring. But if we can't work together effectively, then we're just not going anywhere. It's kind of like the go far together or go fast alone. I forget the exact
the old
phrasing of
African
that,
proverb. Yeah, if you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
There you go.
Yeah, I just used that in a presentation, so it's fresh. I get that. You might not agree on a lot of things, politics, the way that you see the world, but if you're aligned on that vision for the company, on that mission, then it's going to be an awesome thing. So speaking of decades, AI seems to be the buzzword of the decade so far.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the contracting industry, the roofing industry, contracting industry. You are interacting with lots of, with the industry every day, as are we. What do you see, or what do you think like the biggest myth is with AI in contracting? Like let's bust some myths here.
Gosh, the biggest myth. That's a good question. I mean,
or misconception,
I think less so, in contracting or in the trades, but the idea that it's just going to take everyone's job.
Yeah.
I really don't see that happening. But I do see it being a tool to accomplish more. It takes a person and it will give you the ability to accomplish more. And it's almost like, if you're running a grocery store and you're using a hand calculator to type in all the prices, and the next person is sliding them through a laser scanner thing, they're going to accomplish more, and it's going to be hard to compete with them if you're not using the modern sort of tools. But on the flip side, I think relationships with people are going to matter even more in the future. Like they really matter now. You want to sell someone a roof, you want to it's about trust, it's about relationships. And there's always clever ways to rank on Google and to do these things. But that kind of like long term, like the long tail, like value, I really do think is in having customers that trust you and building these relationships like with real people. And
Mhm.
I don't see that changing, even though maybe the tools that we're using, I mean, they will change. Like the way that we interact with software is just going to continue to change.
Right. I'm so glad you said that about relationships. I mean, it really is everything. And I see some of these companies out there like bragging like, man, I sold $2 million last year without leaving my, house or my office. It was all digital. And that's possible, but I hope too many people don't get caught up into that kind of, that model, because so much can get lost there. I think AI, yeah, it's a great tool to be able to communicate with your customers, your market, more effectively, to give them what they want, to increase that client experience, and of course make things more efficient. But yeah, as far as going completely digital or completely like faceless, or not in
Mm-hmm.
person, remote, I don't know. I don't see that as super sustainable.
I think it's definitely harder to build trust through a computer screen than when you're standing in someone's living room or,
Yeah.
sitting at the kitchen table. And it's also like, I don't know, I've measured a lot of roofs. I mean, before there was even Eagle View, and you show up and the things that you see, the neighborhood, the
Mm.
people. Oh, they have a dog in the backyard. Look, I'm as big a fan as the Eagle View hover, instant roofer, you name it, to get the measurements, help me do a bid. Like, trust me, I like tools that make things easier. I just don't foresee there being that substitute for like being another person in the real world with your customer at some point, because there's just enough about that experience and what you'll know that I know you just can't get another way.
Yep. That
And I
context.
don't even see
Yeah.
how you could.
Yep, that rich context. Yeah, that's huge. On that note, I mean, have you seen contracting companies kind of roll out AI and maybe go like too all in, and it kind of backfired on them?
I mean, I say we all, like, there's a funny comic that goes around the internet that's like on one side of the panel, it's like, honey, I found this amazing thing that takes my simple command and writes this beautiful paragraph. And then on the other side of the panel, there's a guy saying, honey, I found this amazing thing that takes this huge paragraph and gives me that one line that I actually want, or whatever. And, the idea that like you can like understanding that it's a tool, to me, is like the crucial element, and that it's good for certain things. I've seen it go bad where like if you're trying to, I want to say fraudulent, that's maybe a little aggressive of a term, but like you're trying to act like, oh, you wrote this whole proposal or you wrote this email or whatever, but then in the middle it says something about as a large language model, it's like that's the kind of stuff that bites you. And it's not necessarily just because you're like using AI, but it's because you're kind of like fronting like it's all your work and everything else, when you are sort of using these tools. And look, they're pretty good at being, I don't know, sometimes hard to detect, etc. But I would say like I haven't seen it in a sense too out of hand, where it's like been a really big problem for people. But yeah, it could be. I also haven't seen everything.
I have one experience with a company that we work with, a roofing company that we work with, who has been in the industry for a while, starting up his own company, right? Like very traditional kind of startup story, and had this like vision of going all digital, AI, tech, everything, and worked on setting up all the processes and connecting all the things and documenting everything. And as a startup, like it's hard to like, you got to keep the main thing. Like you need customers, you need revenue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to go out there
Yeah.
and freaking generate a customer. And so, I don't hope he's not listening to this, but I'm not going to mention his name. The business is not doing great. He's kind of struggling. And I think one of the reasons is he's trying to like, put all this tech in place. At the end of the day, you need to go out there and you need to get a customer, and you need to get revenue and get cash flow. And then you can build it little by little. But I think especially a lot of the younger guys, they try to like go too tech forward and just like forget about the aspect of like, I'm in business to generate revenue and profit. And like, that's first and foremost.
Yeah, and it's easy to fall in love with like the tool, like the perfect, or even like our app, right? Like luckily I hate our app and it's terrible. No, but like well, you can be like, oh, well, it needs to be like this, and I have this perfect system in mind. And the thing that everyone realizes as they build things is that you can have a really good idea, but there is no substitute for like learning on the fly and accounting for the risk that like, okay, everything isn't going to go exactly the way I imagine it when I'm setting up this like elaborate system. And there's a much more robust way to do that, which you're talking about, which is like, okay, what's the number one priority? Let's get that put in place and let's get our system going. And then you can still build out quickly, but you're giving yourself like real world experience, like what we would think of as like user testing at every step of the way, so that you don't find yourself with this beautiful building that you forgot to put a front door into, and that the bathrooms are underneath the stairs, or, all the things that can go wrong when you like, oh, I didn't realize that how we're actually going to use this. There's no substitute for that. You just have to use it.
Yep. The minimum viable product in lean startup methodology.
Mm-hmm.
We almost went down that trail this week. Actually, we're creating this marketing funnel for our business, and there's, as a lot of work that goes into creating a marketing funnel, and then you do all the work, and then you test it. It's like, I think it'll work, but we don't know until we put it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we said is let's test this new thing out with some of our clients that already know, like, and trust us, and we're already working with them. Let's just like kind of toss it out to them and see if they are interested in that. And if so, we'll get a few of them to take us up on it. We'll do it. We'll figure out what breaks, and then we'll get some feedback, and then we'll go from there. So just kind of stair step it. I think a lot of these companies try to go all in on all of the things, and they want CompanyCam, and they want the new CRM, and sign up for a new marketing company and buy this course, and they just try to do too much at once. Some of our older school clients that have been in the game for a while, they're just like, yeah, that's like, don't get like, hey kids, don't get too distracted, like playing around, like, go out there and generate some sales,
Yes. Yeah. And sales solves a lot of other problems in your business.
Yeah. It enables a lot. Yeah.
It gives you the space to experiment. Yes. Big fan of sales.
That being said, a lot of contractors are not very tech savvy, although more and more are, which is, really exciting to see. There's some tech savvy there's some people out there listening right now that are way more tech savvy than me, for sure. And probably you too. But for most of the contractors, they're like, all right, AI, I get the concept, I'm not really sure. I know I should be doing something. What's like a good kind of gateway drug for like starting to implement AI in your contract company?
To me, like, the step one is still like the kind of chat GPT,
Yeah.
like just, being able to ask a smart person a question, or even like with I think I pay the $20 a month or whatever it is. I'm looking at the app right now. But I'll just like help. I'll be like, hey, I'm thinking about this thing. And this is kind of like what I think. Like, I'm thinking we should try to go into, industrial and like telecom and, or, I don't know, something like this. Or it could be like, maybe do more marketing this way or whatever. And the idea that it can actually just answer questions for you and help you, like, and ask you questions to kind of help you think. And then it's really good at taking a bunch of text, audio, whatever you have. Like, I like talking into it. Like, I'm a boomer enough now that there's a nice little microphone in there, and it is insanely good at taking that audio and turning it into text. Like, if you just have an iPhone and that's your experience of clicking that microphone button and watching it butcher whatever you're saying in the text message, this is like light years better in terms of it hears you and it writes it down for you. But just speaking into that and having it kind of like organize and kick out whatever kind of writing you wanted. Maybe it's just for yourself. It could be for like a customer email. It can really save you time. Cause like I'm not a particularly anxious or like nervous person, but I find myself being almost like a perfectionist when I'm trying to communicate something. Like, I'm like, I don't like this way to sound, and being able to just kind of like dump my ideas into it and say like, hey, so try to communicate that clearly and simply in an email. And it does a really nice job where the pressure isn't on you to kind of like almost like get it all right. You can do it stream of consciousness, and then you can get something out the other side that works, like, that just really clearly and effectively communicates what you're thinking. So I use it for questions. I use it to help me like write things and just kind of unjumble like sort of like thoughts that I'm having. And then, I use it for random stuff. Like my kid had like some rash, ringworm, who knows? But after talking to ChatGPT and sending it a picture, I was like, oh, I think that might be ringworm. So, spoiler, my kid has apparently ringworm.
All
I need
right.
to sort that out.
Hopefully by the time we publish this, he's all cured.
It is actually way better today. It's just like you gotta put the right. If you put the wrong ointment, then you might make it worse. You put the right ointment, then you make it better.
All right, love it. That's going to be the opener for the episode. Just the hook to get everyone's attention.
On the right ointment.
I agree. ChatGPT, great. I use it all day. Not for content. I do create a ton of content, but I just feel disingenuous when I'm using it for my content. Now I will use it for like that email or like for this interview, right? Our marketing director gave me a list of questions to ask Luke Hansen, founder of CompanyCam. They were okay. They were just, a little bit generic, kind of boring, like very scripted. And I put those into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, are you familiar with Luke Hansen, CompanyCam? And it's like, of course I am, duh. And I'm like, he's a fun guy. He's, I want to make this really conversational. I don't want to, make it interrogatory. Here's the list of questions that we have. Spice these up, real casual, nothing formal, and spit out like the questions that I'm looking at right now on my screen. Like that's a great
use case.
Perfect example there. Or like, structuring different things inside a company, different payment plans. Okay. We have a sales manager. We're hiring a sales manager and I want to compensate them based on a base salary plus some sort of performance compensation. Here's what our company looks like. Here's our revenue. Here's how many sales reps we have. Here's our profit. Here's like as much as I can feed it. So you have to get really good at feeding it, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But yeah, it'll spit out like, okay, here's a recommended option for a performance-based compensation for your new sales manager. So things like that internal, just kind of like, and we're all bogged down with decision fatigue, right? We're making a million decisions a day. We're talking to a million people a day. So it just kind of helps relieve that burden a little bit. It's almost like an executive assistant that just like is just on all the time. And like I said, way smarter than us. So I like to use it for those kind of back office, like internal things, not so much for content, because the content thing, yeah, it's kind of obvious, right? And there are detectors out there. I believe like if you're going to write a LinkedIn or a Facebook post that is like spit out directly from ChatGPT, I think those algorithms are picking up on that and they're not going to give you as much reach.
Yeah. There's a disingenuous way to use it versus a very practical. And like as you were speaking there, I was thinking, oh, that's sometimes what I'll do is say like either pretend you're X person, or yesterday it was like, hey, give me a daily, like, I don't know, nutrition supplement, health thing. I'm 40 years old. I got XYZ. And, if you were like the Gary Brecka, Joe Rogan, hit a few names. And then it's like, oh, and it's not that, I don't know, you don't have to follow it all the way, but it'll give you some really good feedback or ideas, especially if you can kind of point it a certain direction, because there's like unlimited amount of information or things or how you could compensate your sales team. I mean, there's best practices, but often there's someone that you're like, oh, I think this company did it well, or I've read this person. And it's almost like if you say, hey, pretend like you're this person and tell me what they would say. It's not perfect. Like it's not stand-in probably, but I've felt like it's quite useful.
Yeah, totally. And again, like it's that you need to have that good question, right? It's just like if someone posts in like a Facebook group, like, hey, how should I compensate my sales manager? Well, there's not enough context to even begin to answer that question. So don't ask ChatGPT that question, right? Got to feed it. Like you said, like I want to be
But you can say, hey, what should I be thinking about as I think about compensating my sales manager? Or what questions? Like if there's a way of like stepping a little bit back.
I like that.
And because I keep thinking about this in our app, which is because I tell our people all the time, if we expect the user to open our app with a plan of exactly what they're going to do, then we're failing them, because they don't have a plan. Like their job is not to open our app and to try to like make a report or do whatever. Like they want to open this app and take photos, and then we need to walk them into things that are valuable. We need to offer them pathways to value. But where I'm going with this is like treating ChatGPT, or in a sense the AI, as like helping you resolve the question in a sense, can be really good. Because if it's like, hey, what are I need to think about this. What should I be, what information would you need to give me a great, helpful response? And it'll be like, well, are you doing this kind of sales or this? And, it'll kind of step
Mm.
you through it. And you can usually, get a lot better that way. Like you were saying, like you did it automatically, but sometimes you don't even know what the most important things are. And you
Yeah.
can just say like, what would be the information you would need such that you could give me a really helpful advice? And it'll usually come up with something pretty relevant.
I love that. I'm going to use that. That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause sometimes we can't even formulate. We don't even know what to ask. Like, I know it's a problem, but I don't even know what to ask though.
So much of getting the right answer is asking the right question. Like,
Yeah.
and that, I think that, I don't know, that's true in a lot of areas of life, but figuring out what is the right question? What is the best question? In fact, I had ChatGPT help like the other night. I was trying to think of this. It was funny, relevant to this podcast. The question was like, what a version, I had ChatGPT help me articulate it because I couldn't like simplify it down. So I'm going to butcher it right now. But it was a version of what do we need to do as a company strategically to be able to consistently offer the value of cutting edge AI to our customers? Like what do we need to be like, because we're doing things, but kind of at the whole, if we want to not just build this feature or offer this ability, but into the future to be the people who are saying, okay, AI has made this possible, and we are gonna try to figure out what value that unlocks, like for us, for CompanyCam, but how can we like deliver that value to you, and how can we do that regularly over time? And that's a hard question in itself, but even just formulating the right question so that we can have a
Right.
good conversation about it is like seemingly half the battle.
I like that. I like that. So yeah, I mean, this is not a commercial for CompanyCam, but I'm genuinely interested. And I think the audience probably is, because they're mostly, I think most people out there using CompanyCam.
I love talking about this.
If not, they should be. But yeah, what are you guys implementing as far as AI into CompanyCam?
I mean, gosh, okay. Well, we're building a lot of stuff. The way I think about it is we want you to be able to treat your phone as like a really smart employee at your company. And we like ideally, and this is I think what's the world is moving towards, is that like the app will almost like run itself. That what we need you to do, how do we free up maximum time for you to actually do the work that you need to be doing and not tapping buttons and like using our app? Because it's not actually, you only do that. That's a means to an end of, like you were saying, of like selling more jobs, making more money, making happier customers. Like that's what you're actually aiming at. And so I see like our aim is that you point your phone at the world. You take pictures, you take videos, and then you talk to your phone. Like a big thing we've just recently added is that you take a photo and then it pops up this little microphone button at the bottom, along with some other options that I want to make smaller. And I want to make this microphone button huge so that you can just speak. And you can say, oh yeah, we need to replace this vent, or there's like 7 hail hits on the east face, whatever. The idea that you should not have to write anything down. You should just be able to be pointing your phone at the world and taking pictures. And over the long term, what we want to be doing is essentially then helping, in a sense, direct the work. Oh, based on what we know of this job, because you uploaded the proposal or took a picture of it, because this is what you captured in the field. These are the next 2 steps. Here's an update for the customer that is written positively for them, rather than the update for the owner, which may be a little more critical. Or, so the idea that like you can open this app and sort of reliably know what is the next most important thing to do at this job. And then you can just do the work, point your phone at the world, talk to your phone, and you don't have to be creating things like writing emails, creating documents, building photo reports. Like we want the software to just do that for you. Like the line I always run with is we want to make you an editor instead of a creator.
Ooh, I like
that we give you, like we get you 95% of the way there, or maybe 100% of the way there, and then you're in a position where you can look it over. You can look it over. Maybe you move a few things around or something. You get it where you want it, but that we're the ones starting at kind of the blank page and giving you the thing, and that you don't have to be doing that. So like there's inevitably more to that. Like I'll say connected to that. I've come to realize that it is something of a miracle that we've been able to make this app that people take out of their pocket every day, point at the world, take photos, and put information into. Like getting people to do anything every day, all the time it's like really hard.
Yeah.
And I think of CompanyCam as like this operational tool. Like it's this daily communication, accountability. Like we got to get the work done today. I, as like the owner or manager of this business, I can't be at all the jobs. And so we need to have this kind of like shared understanding, this shared memory, and be able to see where are we at, what else needs to get done, what did we do here last year. I would categorize all that value in a sense as like operational.
Okay.
Now, that's a lot of content and a lot of data and a lot of like relevant information. And we're asking ourselves, how can we help you grow your business with what you're giving us? And that like, if we treat every piece of information that you put in CompanyCam and we ask ourselves the question, how do we make this more valuable to this business? Like, and that the more valuable we make putting information into CompanyCam, then that's better for us because they'll keep using it, but it's better for them. Like we need to be like the best sort of stewards of all of this content and data and everything they're giving us.
Yeah.
And so I see like I say a lot, we will be doing things with AI that are sort of helping you use the information that you have in CompanyCam to grow your business, like helping you get more reviews, helping you show off your work, helping you get content for social media. That these are all like opportunities to say, hey, this could be more valuable if we could almost like put it to work for you.
Yep.
And there's probably a million more things in the weeds than that, but like I've just always at the highest level had this, I don't know, dream. Like I just wanted to point my phone, talk to it, because I'm standing on a roof. Half the time I'm on a ladder, like I just want to point my phone. I want to talk to it. And then I want that information to be like relevantly like useful in there. Oh, this is a thing I didn't mention, which is to be able to just ask a question of a project. Like anyone using CompanyCam should be able to say, what color gutters are we putting on here? Or what, like not looking through a work order, or just if the work order's in there, we should be able to tell you what the work order says.
Yeah.
And we should be able to make that all easier. But I think that all collapses down into the contractor, the roofer, the sales rep, you name it, they have an actual job to do. They are only opening this app insofar as it helps them do their job. And if we can help them, in a sense, do more of their job with less time in this app, that's like a win for everyone. And we're trying to work that, in a sense, to the like extreme.
Got it.
How do we minimize you having to use this app, and how do we maximize your time where you can be doing everything else that's like actually making your company money?
Yeah. And with all that data, are people, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar intimately, but like, because I'm not a contractor, but are they uploading prices and profit in any way, or is that connected in any way?
So we don't do any like accounting stuff, but we have a lot of companies use CompanyCam as like a version of their Dropbox. And so, I mean, I was just hanging out with a couple customers, and like each of them had like a minimum of 10 documents uploaded into every project. It was like this work order, cool, this proposal, like, just all of this stuff that they're putting in there. And so one thing we've just started doing is helping people get reviews.
Cool.
And like I've got this, I have this lovely review flow in my mind that we're working on that I'm really excited about. One element of it is like the ability to shout out people at your company. The idea that, hey, as CompanyCam, we know who was over there taking pictures or like part of this project. We should ask the customer, like, is there anyone you want to shout out? Is there like with the idea that like you can call positive attention to your employees. And then just by getting a couple of like reviews down these angles, that puts us in a position to say like, hey, every job Jim was on, like the customer thought that the communication was really good. Or, when Jose bids the project, it's an average of like 4.7 stars versus 4.4.
Yeah.
Or that it's like, how can we help you? Getting more reviews is going to help you grow. But then with this sort of overall ethos of like, if you're giving us data and information, can we help make it more valuable to your business? Are there things that we can, insights, things that we can bring you that like help you manage your business better, help you make better decisions, even if it's just like coaching people? Because you may find out, oh, well, Rick always sends this text message that makes people feel like he really cares and they always know what the plan is going to be, or something that's just really material, and it helps him, the jobs that he's on, get better reviews. But maybe you don't really know why, because all of our sales reps are really good people, type of a
Yeah,
thing. So anyway, that's a little bit in the weeds, but like,
I like that.
yeah, we see a lot of cool stuff. And that's not even to mention the kind of computer vision, understanding like what's in the photos and helping you. I mean, I know gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but there's a company doing really cool stuff with like hail damage and recognizing hail hits in the photos and helping you kind of run the insurance process. Like, there's definitely other cool
Wow.
stuff happening that's outside of CompanyCam.
I gotcha. Yeah. What I was thinking with all that data that you guys have, like I asked about pricing, like if the AI could spit out, like, hey, based on all this information that you've given us, these types of projects are the most profitable ones for your roofing company. So therefore you should focus on more of these. And there's more of these types of houses in this zip code or this neighborhood, or something like that. Bring
I
that
mean,
in.
that stuff's really interesting. What I always want to be careful, because I want to try to do things that I think we can be the best at.
Yeah.
And
That's,
like anything that touches on like accounting or that side, I'm like, gosh, we're really not in a position to probably be the best at that. We could do interesting things for you, and so it's not that we like wouldn't do something like that. But if I was thinking of like wherever my job costing was, if people are doing job costing worth anything, like,
right.
I mean, a thing that we are, I think, going to be capable to do would be able, for example, we could be in a position, because we're talking about like time tracking, and if not like exactly time reporting, the idea that could we couple data from something like, well, either data that we have in CompanyCam, or I think of like Construction Clock, which is a good time tracking software. Like, could we say, oh, hey, you put the proposal in here, so we know essentially how much it costs. We see how many hours across how many people you were over there working, so we can kind of give you this. Maybe it isn't like a perfect number, but we could say like, hey, these ones, like, you're charging X amount and it's only taking you this much time. Where you
Yeah.
miss on that is if you don't know the price of the materials and you're not actually in the
Right.
weeds of
Yeah.
the bid, you could give people false signals. And I always
Hmm.
really want to be careful that we're not being sort of too presumptuous in terms of, I'd hate to be like, hey, we think these are the best jobs for you, and we're so convincing, but we're wrong for some reason or another, because we didn't have all the info. And
Yep.
then we point someone down the road of like making bad business decisions because we thought we were like more clever than we are.
Cool. I like that. I like how intentional you are with that. That's huge. And as you're talking about that, I'm listening to you, of course, and I'm also thinking about the contractor who's like, okay, we're awesome at roofing and we're getting asked to do siding a lot. Let's just do it because they're asking for it. Well, if you can't really provide a great client experience and can't do that siding job that well, then maybe you're better off like not doing that. So you can maintain, the integrity of your brand and
Yeah.
not
Well,
to
and
lose
so
that.
much of that comes down to the quality of like leadership that you can put onto any given problem. And because, if you have a person who's ready to dive in and figure it out and take ownership, then kind of expanding out can be really compelling. Like, oh,
Right.
doing siding or doing this other thing. And if it's like, oh, this is an opportunity for us to learn. Yeah, we want to make more money, so we'll make money on this job. But we're treating this as like, hey, XYZ person, can I trust you to handle this? And they say yes, and you're like, okay, I think I actually can. That our family business grew that way. Like, my brother was like, I'm gonna figure out how to do commercial flat roofing. We've never done it. We've always been residential steep slope. I'm going to figure it out. And it's not like every job went perfect. You do run into problems, but you can create opportunities that way. But someone has to be, in a sense, committed
Yep.
to owning it. It relates. I tell every new hire, every time we hire new people, like we have like it's like once every few weeks or a month, depending on if we've hired anyone, I have a meeting with them and talk about a bunch of stuff. But one thing is that there is an unlimited amount of possible responsibility here. Just because you're in XYZ role, maybe you're doing customer support or whatever. Our chief revenue officer, who's in charge of like 100 people, started out here cold calling. Like, there's, the literal lowest person on the totem pole at our entire company at that time.
Yeah.
And when you see an opportunity to kind of make yourself responsible for something that has no one else has taken responsibility for, that is your opportunity to move up, because what moving up means is taking responsibility for more stuff. And yeah, sorry, we're not really talking about tech or AI, but just the general principle of like, just turning around to make a quick buck. Not that it always fails, but it's dangerous, and you can get yourself in a pickle and turn into a way bigger headache that you'd rather just give back the money and not worry about it. We've probably all found ourselves in some position like that at one point in time. You're like, oh, but helping or identifying people, could be yourself, that are ready and willing to try to take more responsibility, to try to take ownership of a new thing. That is really powerful. And that's how the best businesses, I would say, grow, is that they find people who will do that. And then they are willing to let go enough, knowing that it probably isn't going to go perfectly the first, second, maybe even third time. That but that if you can put that into practice, you can get people who end up being capable of doing a lot more than maybe you thought when you hired them.
Yeah, I agree. We fully subscribe to that. We read the book Who Not How by Benjamin J. Hardy. So that's how we refer to it internally. So we are rolling out a new division of our company as of this month, and the discussion among our leadership team was great. This is exciting. We need to find a who. Like, we need to find a who to actually own this thing. And someone stepped up. She's like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and I would love to. I'm excited about that. Great. And I think as owners, as visionaries, a lot of times, especially, when we're smaller and just, kind of getting going, we think that we're superhuman and that we can manage the roofing and then the commercial and then the siding, but we're not. We can't. We're not superhuman. So
it's always better. I mean, this relates to just even talking about CompanyCam and like what we could do in the app. Cause like, I think we just have a lot of good opportunities, like I'm super pumped about like this business and how much value we can bring to our customers. But if you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing well.
Yeah.
And that is, even I have this other thing that I say that I'm workshopping this. I need to make it better, but like often it's better to be different than it is to be better. And what I really mean is that like being identifiable and or memorable, like being able to occupy space in someone's head. That's just like, if you're a company, like there's a company around here they're a roofing company, but they really latched on to solar, and they became the solar people. Like when you thought of them locally, it was like, oh yeah, if I have a solar problem, I was calling them,
Yeah.
and I was like, there are competitors, but I was like, hey, they became known for that. And it was like memorable, and it was like differentiated from kind of just all the sort of like roofing things. And whenever you have the opportunity to do that, like, sorry, this is getting a little sideways, but there's a book by this guy named Darren Brown. He's one of these illusionist, like mentalist type of people. He's a British dude. He's very popular in like England, I believe, and maybe a little popular here, but he's had a TV show, et cetera. But he wrote a book that I read because I really liked this guy. But in talking about memory, he was talking about how our body, or not our body, like our brain, like remembers things that are different. If it's just like another thing, then like we don't like store it in a new place. It's just it's very shallow, and it just kind of goes away. And he did this little, almost this challenge in the book where he's like, hey, try to memorize these, 20 words in a row, and take a couple minutes, and you try to memorize these words, and you realize you've got like 10 of them, and then you just can't. Oh shoot, that one came after that one. And then he gives you this trick, which is like, for every word, create like a funny picture in your mind, and then go to the next word and the next word. And after like 1 minute, you're rattling off those 20 words like piece of cake, just by kind of using this like little strategy that hooks into making something memorable, something being a little different. And I've gone way on this tangent here, but just to say that like people they need to be, if they want to work with you again, or they want to tell their friend about you or whatever, they have to remember you. And if you can give them something that is in some way, this why I have this stupid mustache, actually. Which I like now. It's growing on me, literally. I went to the IRE. Like the first year we started company, I think it was maybe the second, because I want to say it was 2016 or something.
Okay.
I went to the IRE, And I had a dumb mustache because I just randomly did. I never really did before, but I was like shaving and I was like, oh, I could do this. And I talked to a bunch of people there. And then when I went back and like was calling them later to be like, hey, we get you going with CompanyCam, almost to a person, they were like, oh, you're the guy with the mustache. Like they all remembered. And I remember thinking like, oh man, that's like powerful that every person that I called back literally remembers talking to me because of like how I looked or whatever. And that like, it kind of stuck with me at that point in time. And then over the course of like this company and just like seeing businesses, like how can you be memorable? And if you can figure that out, and it doesn't have to be totally crazy or wacky or whatever, but it has to be something that is like uniquely yours and not the same as, because there's a lot of elite roofings out there, let me tell you. And it's not a bad name. It's perfectly great. But like, what is the thing that they can remember? Anyway, that's my little brand lesson of the day.
I love that. I love it. Makes me think of the book Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Probably familiar
definitely
with that. Right?
Down that line.
Driving down the road, you see cow, especially probably in Nebraska. Well, here in New Jersey as well.
And then, plenty of cows here.
And then you see a purple cow and you're like, oh, I've never seen a purple cow before. So that's a great little book, old book, but classic. And another example of that is, Ryan Serhant, you know who he is?
See, I know that name, but I can't place him.
So he's a real estate agent, owns Serhant Brokerage in Manhattan. He was on like $1 billion.
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
He shows like the, $40 million, houses on YouTube and all that. Anyway, he's got a really good book called Brand It Like Serhant. And his whole thesis is because he coaches real estate agents, right? So Luke, you are real estate and what? So you would be what's your and? Your and's your mustache. For me, it's like fitness. For someone else, it might be like cooking.
Whoa,
right?
I'm fitness.
No, I know you can be both. But for like Julie, it might be okay. Julie's a real estate agent who does like the cooking, like in your social media content, right? Like that's your and. That's how people are going to remember you. So I think that's pretty cool for anyone out there looking to put out, social media content, build your personal brand, company brand.
Roofing and a lifted truck is not good enough. Actually, it might be. I love going to these events, and you definitely see some of the coolest trucks at the roofing events.
So interesting. Yeah, cool. Well, I know we're on the hour. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on. You got all these visionary ideas that you need to implement. So, man,
hey, someone's got to do it.
I love it.
No, I'm excited. Hey, thanks for having me on, dude. This was awesome.
Cool.
And give me, before, I know you probably got things going too, but like, what is the 30-second minute on Nailed It and your kind of your marketing operation? Because like I'm aware of it, but I don't actually really know what you do.
Yeah. So Contractor Dynamics is a marketing training company, work with roofing companies. So most roofing companies understand they need to do marketing and they just don't know how. So they end up just throwing money at their marketing problem. And, that used to work back in the day, 2016, for example, like it's pretty easy. Now we're in 2025. You can't just buy your way out of your marketing problem. So you've got to control that marketing narrative, that brand narrative. So we train roofing companies on how to do their own marketing. And so
do they need to have an internal marketing person, or will you train them if it's like someone's side job, like the owner or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, we have clients that, the guy's running it and the wife is helping out sort of thing. That's cool. Or it's a marketing minded owner who's like, all right, I'm going to delegate like the admin and the paperwork and other things in my business because I love marketing. I want to do that. Yeah. But the most successful companies that we work with are the companies that have that full-time in-house marketing coordinator. And even smaller companies that 3 million or so are, if they're forward thinking, they're hiring that person because if they're trained well, if they know what they're doing, they're going to be able to drive a lot of revenue. So we call it like our clients are the general contractor of their own marketing, right? So they're creating the plan, the budget. They are self-performing some of the work in-house, and then they're also subbing some of it out to agencies. Well, they sub it out, like they know what they're doing. They know what they're hiring. They know how to hold an agency accountable, how to call them out on their BS or whatever. And so just, it's just like any other core function of your business. You can't just outsource your marketing and expect great results.
That's really cool. I mean, it sounds like Like there's so many ways to learn things these days, but it's really interesting when I think of like specialized education, which is essentially what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
hey, marketing is a function. You could go watch YouTube videos. You go read Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It's all great. And maybe you should do that anyway. But like, there's certain things that work for roofing companies.
Right.
There's like all of this stuff kind of like the applied knowledge of it that you can learn from someone who's done it, and especially someone who like helps people do it regularly. You get to see a lot more stuff than like I do, or anyone single person probably.
Yeah, you compress time, right? You can go watch 100 hours YouTube videos and still not know what you're missing. You're missing one little thing, and running your own Facebook ads, like they're not going to work, right? So yeah, you're just compressing time, and you're just, tapping into a proven pool of knowledge, that's all we do, right? So other contract, people are like, oh, you can work in any industry, right? HVAC or whatever. Sure, same model applies, but when you come into our ecosystem, like all the examples and the training, everything is roofing, and then we have our client like mastermind, and it's all roofing. So it's just like that common language, which just helps you move faster.
Absolutely, and it goes to that point of like specialization. Do what you're great at.
Right.
And no one's going to be better at this than you. And like another thing I tell our company, like the best product never loses. Maybe you could make more money. Maybe you could all sorts of ways that you could, if you're smarter at business, you could do a little bit better. But if you, in this case, are doing the best roofer marketing, like you're always going to be winning to some degree. And anyway, all right. Hey,
I like that.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Appreciate it. And thanks for sharing all your wisdom. Excited to get this out to the industry.
Sweet. See you later.